Hey there, welcome to the Movie Review Mom YouTube channel. If this is the very first time you've discovered my channel, yay, you're finally here. I've been waiting for you. And if you're a returning subscriber, yay, thank you so much for coming back. I truly appreciate your support. And as you already know, my goal is to save you time and money by giving you the inside scoop on filmmaking quality and content, so that you can decide whether or not you want to spend time or money or both watching a particular film. So today, the movie I'm reviewing is called Square Pegs. This heartwarming film is now playing on video on demand on sites like Apple TV and Amazon Prime Video. The film is rated PG. It's an hour and 51 minutes. And I'm going to give you an overview in a nutshell first, and then I'll point out things I liked, things I didn't like, tips for parents, themes worth talking about, funny lines, interesting lines, and we'll finish up with recommendations for other films that are sort of similar that you might also really like. The screenwriter actually reached out to me to take a peek at his film, and I was more than happy to do so. I love bringing attention to new writers and filmmakers. His name is James Houston Turner. He explained that he has lived much of the film's journey himself, and he noted that he wanted to toss his characters into the same deep end of the pool, as he described it, where he had been. James told me, quote, "My intention was to create a scenario where I pushed a father-daughter duo out of their comfort zones. I think many of us have struggled with unforgiveness. I certainly did. And my doctor said it was the reason I got cancer, which resulted in a tumor the size of an orange in my jaw. My getting cancer stumped the experts because I'd never chewed tobacco or betel nut, which are the primary reasons people get my kind of mouth cancer. The reason they finally concluded was emotional trauma, which in my case was bitterness and unforgiveness. I therefore wanted to create a film that wrestled with those same issues." End quote. Isn't that amazing? He continued saying, quote, "Having had cancer and a diagnosis of 18 months to live, I know what it's like to face the prospect of an early end to life. I was 44 at the time. My own dad was hit by lightning when I was 13, and after living through that, developed emphysema and had to be hospitalized for an operation. I drove home to Kansas from Texas to be with him, where I was attending seminary and working in a church while also working in a bar. But because I was unrepentant about what I thought were his failures as a dad, I thought I had all the time in the world to sanctimoniously carry a grudge, only to have him die suddenly without me ever having forgiven him or asked his forgiveness for my part in that ongoing feud. So I open the movie with that same scenario, but resolve it differently with a second chance at reconciliation being given to Mac and Jody." End quote. And yeah, you see all of those elements in this movie, which is amazing. I mean, his story should be a movie because that's incredible. James shared with me that he had studied theology and how to preach, but discovered through experience that people generally do not respond as well to preaching as they do to acts of love. There was a line by Althea, one of the characters that got cut from the movie, that said, quote, "Theology in a bowl," referring to Mac's newfound role as a cook instead of a preacher. To James, that embodies what Christianity is all about. So, as long as we do not substitute secular altruism for practical expressions of faith. I also love the idea that the church is not where we go, but who we are. And again, we see all of those elements in the script and in his writing. The touching film was directed and produced by Bill Rahn, but he passed away before the film premiered. We get to see him in the movie as the delivery man. Already, the film has won several awards for the best screenplay and writer at various film festivals. So kudos to the team and kudos to James. That's amazing. So let me give you some quick tips for parents. Kids, I think, are generally going to be bored. young kids because the movie has a lot of adults talking and arguing in it. There's a lot of alcohol and drunken behavior. Some Spanish is spoken without subtitles. One of the Spanish speaking waitresses says, "God help me," in Spanish many times. There's talk of a deadly car accident. At one point, there's a man with a gun who points it at people in a threatening way, and then someone gets shot and we see blood. So there are so many themes that are illustrated very well, such as forgiveness, reconciliation, faith through action, family, court cases and judges, blame, love and loss, and empathy, which is understanding other people's lives and situations, putting yourself in their shoes. Now, onto the list of things that I really liked about this film. First of all, I love the visual logo of Ruby Rock Films. I had never seen it before. I think Christians will respond very well to it. And yes, this movie has a Christian worldview, yet anyone with family squabbles will definitely be able to relate to the story. I hadn't seen anyone in the cast before. The leading roles went to Maggie Jenny, Jeremy Little, Catherine Trail, Alex Graff, Loretta Pistol Durden, hopefully I'm pronouncing these names correctly, Julia Fournier, and Wayne Deloria. All of the characters seemed like real people, so well done. I've always loved movies where the main characters change places. We all would have plenty to learn when placed in other people's shoes, right? If we carefully consider others' feelings and situations better, we would judge less and have more empathy. And ultimately, isn't this all about learning how to love one another? Well, that's how I see it. The movie was filmed entirely in the state of Georgia. I lived in that beautiful state for 15 years, and it has become a true mini Hollywood. So many films are being made out there, as well as in North Carolina, which is just amazing and great to have some variety. I loved everything about living in Georgia, except for three things. First, all of my family lived on the West Coast when we were there, and nobody came out to visit us, or rarely. The humidity was brutal, and the fire ants were insane. Anyway, back to the movie. Keep watching during the rolling credits for a bunch of bloopers that were made during the making of the film. I think every movie, especially comedies, of course, should have blooper reels. I love those. Now, onto the list of things that I didn't like, and that list is much smaller. Some of the scenes felt like actors reciting lines. There was a little bit of wooden acting. And again, these, for the most part, I don't think were professional actors with years and years of experience. And so that's just natural for new actors. Then one of the big things that really bugged me was the daughter in this movie. Since when is a daughter owed half the value of a house that her parents bought and paid for after years of their own hard work? I thought that was bizarre that she thought she actually had a legal claim to the house. The daughter's entitled attitude affects her relationship with her father, as well as with Bob, the owner of the bar that she wants to buy. She thinks that she can already run the place because she has a contract to purchase, but she hasn't purchased it yet. She hasn't even paid a cent, and she's got this bossy attitude. She was just such an annoying character. And the attorney that she works with says her request is reasonable. On what grounds? I just thought that was crazy. And then the attorney puts a lien on the house. Anyway, the daughter's character, her attitude reminded me of the unfortunate, very common attitude of entitlement that we see in the world today. And it wasn't until the very end, yes, the movie is predictable, that she finally has a turnaround. Finally, thankfully, because the whole time she's just such an unpleasant personality. And I wanted to root for her. I wanted them to get together, and I didn't see her trying at all. Anyway, that's just the mother in me coming out. Her mother would have been very ashamed of her. And then another thing is, even though I'm fluent in Spanish, sometimes it's really hard to understand the character named Catalina and what she says. Now, she's speaking in English most of the time, but she has a very thick accent and she speaks very quickly. I think I understood her more when she speaks Spanish. and there are no subtitles in Spanish, which is why I mentioned some of the things, or one of the things that she says often. She was a cute personality, and so if she had just slowed down, which is also another very common mistake that new young actors make, is they get excited or they want to show an energetic personality, and so they speak really fast. Now, of course, I'm speaking really fast in this review because I don't want it to be 20 minutes long. But anyway, I liked her character. And there were some other fun, flavorful characters in the movie. And I think at the beginning of the movie, I think some of them were a little rough. And I assume that they started filming at the beginning of the story. And then as it got to the end in Act 3, some of the acting kinks were worked out and everybody looked and seemed a little bit more natural and comfortable in front of the camera. Now, whenever I watch movies, I take notes, of course, and I write down funny lines and interesting lines simply to share them with you so you can get a taste of the script writing and dialogue. So when I went back and looked at my notes, I did not write down any funny lines. It is really a drama. Even though some of the situations are kind of funny, there are some cute moments, but nothing really made me laugh out loud until the bloopers at the very end of the movie during the rolling credits. And then it looked like the cast was really having fun. But I did write down a lot of interesting lines. And in these lines, they're the ones that really showcase the themes of the film. And you can see all of them on my written review at moviereviewmom.com, but I'll share a few of them with you right now. So Judge Florinda Thomas is played by Catherine Trail, and she has a lot of the really good lines. One of them is as she is the judge is talking to the clients and what's happening in the legal story. She says, "How can you represent the best interests of your clients when they don't even know what their own best interests are?" Which is true. This is the father and the daughter who were fighting, and they don't know what's best. And I really like one of the things that the judge does. She makes them swap places, which is a fun movie technique and story, but also a really good lesson for all of us to consider ourselves in somebody else's shoes and our perspective changes. Another really great line that the judge says is, "Life has an expiration date, Jody." She's talking to one of the characters, "and none of us knows when that is," which is a really good point. A really good lesson, and something exactly what the writer of this movie said that he went through, that he missed that expiration date. His father died before he was able to actually forgive and be able to move forward with his father. And I feel that pain for him in the movie. And so I thought he did a really good job translating his personal experience into the lines of these characters in the film. And then another line that the judge says is, "Don't let another tragedy divide you permanently." Now, the dad starts a turnaround, and he's the first one really to extend some form of forgiveness. And he recognizes his own weaknesses, and he's played by Wayne DeLoria. And he says, "I'm the one who needs revival." And he's humble and repentant. I love another line by Althea Cummings, is a character played by Loretta Pistol Durden, and she says, "That's where God lives, in the messes, of our lives." And I thought that that was a really great line. Another time she says, "We're all on the road to who we are and where we belong. Sometimes it's not where we think." And that's a little foreshadowing of what happens later in Act 3, which I thought was really fun. All right, I'll give you one more line. This is also spoken by the judge, and she says, "Finding out where you don't fit can lead you to where you do." And that is 100% true. I used to teach classes at Le Cordon Bleu as a culinary college. And one day a student came up to me and said, "Oh, professor, you're going to be so mad at me. I don't want to be a chef anymore." And I said, "I'm not going to be mad at you. This is your life. And finding out what you don't want to do is good, helpful information to help get you to what you do want to do." Anyway, so I really liked that line. All right, so whenever I watch movies, I instantly think of other films that are similar that I want to recommend. And so no big surprise here. The two of movies that I'm going to recommend have the same word in them, which is forgiven. So the first movie is called The Forgiven, and then the second movie is called Forgiven. And obviously, those are the themes of those movies, as well as this one that I'm reviewing for you right now. And those are hard lessons to learn. Both of these are really good movies and powerful movies. Forgiving others and forgiving oneself are some of the hardest things we'll ever do in our lives. Anyway, I definitely recommend those. When you get a minute, run over and visit me on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. I think I already said that one. I'm all over the place. You can find me as Movie Review Mom, but you can also find me as Trina Boice, especially on Instagram, where you can learn about my books. I've got 31 of them, my online courses, my products, and my other shenanigans. Hopefully my review was helpful. If so, give it a thumbs up, subscribe. You know the drill. Have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.